Come to think of it, how many students accessed it? To make it worse, even international students were crying to get some of these benefits. So
for a longer lockdown? My answer will be no, it wasn't. Because yes, it has its positives and its negatives, but I believe if the education system remained with a staggered learning, the staggered learning of and the shift learning, it would control the spread of the virus, plus ensuring that the SOPs were put into consideration. When you look at a country like Kenya, specifically the University of Nairobi, you'll find that in a class of medical students, you'll find 500 plus students. Those students are actually very healthy, but there are strict implementation of the standard operating procedures that you're supposed to wear a mask. Sanitizing is a priority. So these students have actually managed to study, and they're moving ahead. Right now, their economies are thriving, but Uganda is still lagging behind because the education system was put on a hold. It was put on a standstill. But if at all we embraced the staggered learning, whereby these weeks, they study, the next weeks they don't study, they study online and don't study physically, I believe that the virus would be controlled. But we failed to keep up to that standard. We kept inside our houses, and the education system has lagged. The economy has greatly lagged. Now, I won't forget the rural areas. In the rural areas, I feel that they would have implemented shift learning. Shift learning is actually a very good option for people in rural areas. And sensitization, telling them the use of the mask, telling them the use of the sanitizer in their local language. Because if they are told in English, they will not understand. They will think you're trying to implement your white mindset on them. But bring it to them in their localities, in their local languages. They would understand, and the shift learning would actually work. Then if the network coverage in those areas would improve, then I believe this would be good. Oh my God, I beg to stop.
Thank you. Let us clap for our panelists. Yes. For the next set of questions, we are going to still start from behind. So, Ms. Atumanya Doris, please take the stage. Doris is from Bishop Stewart University. My question is, what reforms should be made in Uganda's education system today?
I will first answer a question that someone posed to me when he was presenting. Like, he asked about the competence level and the releasing of half-baked people to gain work. Now, if you have not completely finished your course, then you're still half-baked. And if you have completely finished your course, then you're not half-baked, and you go out and serve. That's why I say that it was better for us to have a lockdown, because half-baked people will be introduced to the country at the end of the online studies. Personally, I've done my online studies, my second year and my third year, and I'm not going to graduate because I'm waiting for schools to open, and I do my school practice in those schools physically, whether I like it or not. So by the time I'm out and I want to go and teach, I am half-baked. It was a better option for us to go in a lockdown, and we have better planning, so as we can see how schools can open and everyone goes to the school. So the question was, I would request that you repeat it for me.
Okay, as your 3 minutes already started running.
Yeah, sure.
What reforms should be made in Uganda's education system
The
today?
reforms that should be made in Uganda's education system today is, one, the curriculum. Because the curriculum is not effective, it is just theoretical. We need a practical part of the curriculum that was recently introduced to the senior ones, and that is one class out of the 6 years you should spend in a secondary school. It is better we have the more practical part of the story, so as at least when you're out and you cannot get a white-collar job, you can go out there and do something else. Another reform that should be done in the education system is that you should look at how the evaluation part of the education is done. Evaluation is key in that anytime you can go out there and you cannot do something because the evaluation is poor. Evaluation is when you can go and pay a lecturer, you get 90, you get an A, and Gantt work. But evaluation needs to be crucial, management and administration. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Waiswa Augustine from Mountains of the Moon University.
All right, thank you so much. You see, when a person comes here and tells you that I'm under lockdown, but then I'm doing my course and at the end of it all I will teach, he has forgotten that actually right now there is some information that is missing. Something that you are supposed to be taught was not taught just because you're home. And this is the half-baked thing I'm meaning. These children are home and they are not studying, and then parents are thinking of, let me skip my kid to the next class before he grows old in that similar class. So those are the kind of half-baked things I'm trying to tell you, that we are not getting the real content delivered to the person for that person to be totally capable of delivering the same to the community. And then, the question is telling us that which reform do we think we can do within the education sector? Let's have more of the practical things being implemented than theoretical. We are pumping students with a lot of theoretical knowledge than actually equipping them with the skills that can help them to acquire these skills of starting up something. This is why we are having, like how I said in the beginning, that we are having more job seekers than creators. Let the people be skilled with the skill of innovating, coming up with something new that can help them to come up to sustain their lives. Then we can enhance supervisions. Ladies and gentlemen, if we don't enhance supervision and monitoring at school level, we have the DEOs into play. We have every person accountable for the smooth running of education. Trust me, the things are not going to be good. We are going to see poor results just because the DEOs are not doing what they are supposed to do. The ed teachers are just sleeping in the offices. So if we can enhance and monitor closely how education, the activities within the school setting is being monitored and done, this can yield us better. Then the evaluation system also at least must change. This is a student that is in class 24/7 from 8 to 5, but then is being given a national exam at the end of it all that is 100%. Thanks goes to the new curriculum that is saying that maybe 20% from the school and then 80% from National Examination Board. But why 80% from National Examination Board? Why at least not have maybe 40% from school and then a person maybe look for 10% from National Examination Board to sum up the 50 and the person passes? So if we still have this kind of arrangement and evaluation, there is no way we are going to make it.
Thank you. Next is Mr. Ogutu Titus from Kampala International University.
Reforms. You see, we are at a stage that needs physical transition as young people. Physically, mentally, we need a good education curriculum. And I think the Ministry of Education and Sports should not be penalized for their policies. Some of these policies are perfect, but when it comes to implementation is where the problem is. For instance, look at the public and private partnership initiative that was put in place. How effective has it gone ahead? You know, that creates a correlation between the public and the private schools. I think the outcome we shall have when such a partnership is put into consideration, then we shall get a better education system and better outcomes that shall be realized. Furthermore, I think we need to also remove the mindset and keep on accusing the role players that give us the education and also come back to ourselves and develop a skill of self-awareness within ourselves. We need the education, yes. Then let's put in efforts to have it. So that means we need to develop the self-awareness skill amongst the young people, because that's how we are going to critically get them to thinking. And I think some of the arguments that are here, some of these things have never been said in class, but because of self-awareness and the love to be a better person. The other one, who would be a productive and scientific-related, broad-minded teachers. I think the teachers, I do not want to discredit the teachers in the building, but I think that the teachers who impact the knowledge in the student should have that space to relate more with the students so as to be able to do some of these examinations. I wouldn't want to agree with the evaluation system that these gentlemen, my colleagues are submitting with, but come to think of it, I mean, when we're at home, Mommy does not say that I'm going to give Titus 2% and then I'm going to give Victor 50%. It has to be 100%, I mean. Let the evaluation be the same, because if you're going to say such kind of evaluation, come to times, think of logistic-wise. Is it going to be the same in the rural areas and in the urban areas? Because we see that more of the private partnership has been more effective in the urban than in the rural areas. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Ms. Rita Mirembe from Makerere University Business School.
The question is reforms. So, first thing I'll start with is work without play makes Jack a dull boy. Now, if at all this system is restructured, a restructured system that encourages skill growth, practical skills, I believe that Uganda's education system will improve. I would like to compare. With comparison, we grow. So don't take it in a bad way. The United States is ranked as one of the countries with the best education system. Most of their classes have a class called recess. That is in high school. They have a class called recess. And during these recesses, they learn new skills, and it's time for their mind to refresh and to grow. If at all a new curriculum is restructured that enables students to have time to grow and expand their mind away from class, then I believe the skills will grow and the education system will improve. Another thing is teachers. Once I'm not paid well, I'll not work well. That's something that we look at in human resource management. Once our workers are not paid well, these workers will not be motivated to work. Teachers are paid very little, extremely little. But if these teachers are encouraged, paid more, made to feel important in the society today, then I believe that education will improve, because they'll try to work harder. They'll try to see that they do their best, they work to their best to make sure that everything in school goes well. Accountability. There isn't accountability for the resources that are run through to the UPE and USE. Public universities have worked out in other countries. Public education has worked out in other countries. But in Uganda, it has failed. And our problem is accountability. There isn't accountability for the resources that are brought to the school. There isn't accountability for the people who are working. How are they paid? What are they receiving? Which materials are being given to the students? But if there is accountability, then I believe that the system will grow. Then inequity. There's a high rate of inequity that, and with COVID-19, it has become big that I beg to stop here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rita. So now we are going to concluding remarks from our panelists before we move to the audience. So our panelists, we are going back to start from the first, and we will start from Rita still to give us your closing remarks. So give us your closing remarks on the future of Uganda's education system today. Our dear audience, there's a concern from our judges that you're not listening. So please pay attention because you will have the last 30 minutes. We need your contribution. Thank you. Rita, the floor is yours. Give us your concluding remarks on the future of Uganda's education system today.
How many minutes?
3.
The future of Uganda's education. Your role, the government's role, the people's role, the elders' role. That is my query. That is my concern to the future of Uganda's education. If we all come together, then the system will improve. If we all work together, then the system will improve. But if we believe that it is someone's duty to do this, or it's another person's duty to do this, then I don't think that the system will grow. But Uganda's education, the future of Uganda's education is bright. There is hope. There is hope if all of us play our roles. As citizens, as nationals, as leaders, it is our role. All of us have a role to play. So let us play our roles. Then I believe the future of Uganda's education system is bright. Implementation of policies, implementation of everything concerned with education. If there is implementation of what is said, let us not stop on talking, let us not stop on debating, sharing, but what we are sharing. Are we doing what we are sharing? If we do what we are sharing here, right now in this space, if whatever has been displayed here, if whatever that has been brought on board, if all these things are put into consideration, then I believe that education in Uganda will grow at a very high rate. Everyone has a role to play. Everyone has a hand in this. So let us grow together, and we shall see the future of Uganda's education growing. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. Yeah, let's move to Titus.
The future of Uganda's education system is a good one. I mean, Makerere University is known as the Harvard of Africa. Why would someone say that education system has issues? So I think the education system of Uganda is a good one. All that needs to be done for it to be better is to have the clear structures put in place. That is the biggest challenge we have today. And if the clear structures are not put in place, that means the rural schools or the rural-based schools are going to find challenges compared to the urban schools that are considered to be the creme de la creme. The Constitution clearly provides for the right to education. That means what needs to be done are clear structures put in place and clearly implemented with accountability and transparency. For that, we wouldn't be having issues to call the First Lady to deny to come before a panel, before Parliament. So we just need clear structures put in place with the sector directors adhering to the future of the young people, listening to the values that the young people need, making better the broader mindset of the young people, and automatically everything will be fine. And of course, the National Planning Authority with the Minister of Education should be able to create a good relationship with these educational institutions. However, my concern would be that let there be a good relation with the private sector, because the private sector is considered to have the better academic infrastructure compared to the public schools that are put in place. So with that relation put in place and clear structures from the top up to down, then we wouldn't be even hearing issues of schools wanting to go out, helping each school. For instance, we came in the lockdown, but I mean, schools are not helping each other, and you would ask yourself, are we all Ugandans, or some schools are headed by foreigners? So basically, with a good relationship between the private and the public, we would have a good outcome at the end of the day. And of course, with the leaders at the top being clearly accountable to some of these institutions, I mean, we would have a bright future. Come to think of it, if the money that is released from Ministry of Finance to that school in Kaberamaido, then automatically we would have more Harvards of Africa in Uganda. I thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Waiswa Augustine from Mountains of the Moon University.
Okay, thank you so much. What we need to do, there is always hope at the end of the tunnel, and we are not, we have totally not lost hope in the education system of Uganda. It is a good one. In the future, it will help us. Therefore, what we need to do is, I will say togetherness yields better. Let's work together, do what you're supposed to do to see that we foster the education system of Uganda. 2, put what you've started into play. Like how they say that education is all about what you gain. So don't just gain that information and contain it. Spread it, or maybe it can help to transform the lives, to transform the standards of this nation. 3 is we should at least have the education sector being prioritized on the national budget, the way we prioritize security, the way we prioritize other sectors. If at least we can look at education as the key to the development of the nation, being prioritized in budgeting and funding, then I think it can as well yield us better. This is going to allow teachers good payment, will have good structures, and I hope everything will be fine. I'll end by saying each one, reach one, and teach one. Now that we are in a COVID pandemic, I would end by saying each one, reach one, and teach one. That education is the key to success, and therefore for us, keeping at lock does not help us. Let's have vaccination alongside learning, and then let's observe the SOPs, and therefore I'll put on my mask. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Augustine. Last but not least, let us have Ms. Atumanya Doris from Bishop Stewart University.
Thank you. The future of Uganda's education system today is that it can be good, and it will be good. And if certain things are done, one, that is sensitization. Sensitization in that parents should know why I should buy a laptop for my child and how it is going to help my child to study and be successful, considering the issues of COVID-19, because we are certainly still in the lockdown and online is still going to go ahead. A student should know why they should sit and study online and graduate at the end of the day. Also, if role play is looked at, the future of education in Uganda will be brighter in the way that the government should play their role, a student, you should play your role, and a parent is going to play their role. A student, you should play your role in that you will go in class, whether online or physical, study, get good grades, go out and work. A parent will play their role in that they will be able to petition, provide whatever it takes, and help you graduate at the end of the day. The government will play its role in that it will ensure through the Ministry of Education that the education system is better and it is valuable and it is going to help the country, it's going to help the youth. And the government should also play their role in that they will help the students that cannot afford, as they have been helping through loan schemes, that they will get education and also they'll get services. Another thing that will help our future, the future of education, to be brighter and good in the coming years is that planning. If planning was a better option since the closure of schools, we would be in a better place right now as the education ministry in the country. But because the planning was poor, maybe from different areas, it caused issues in the sector. That's why some people are studying, some people are not studying, some universities are in third year and some are not in third year. And also management should be considered and administration. I submit.
Thank you so much. Let's clap for our panelists. So our panelists have been on a hot seat. Our audience have been listening. It's now time for audience interaction. So as we involve the audience, we have tea just behind. So one by one, you can move, get tea, and then come back and take your seat. Please don't crowd the place. Just move one by one as we have audience interaction. So if you are in the audience and you have something to contribute to this topic, just raise your placard. I'll pick you, then you start with your name and the name of your university. Why are you raising like you're not sure of your point? Okay, let me start from here. You have 1 minute when you're given the microphone.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, dear judges, and you, dear ladies and gentlemen. Every time we discuss about education, we discuss the heart of the matter of our future. Education is a very important component in making a country. Today, we are seeing so many issues resulting from education because we have an incompetent system. An incompetent system cannot produce a competent system. Today we have so many issues about education that the panelists have spoken about. But what is the way forward to this? There are two things I would categorize education in Uganda and opportunities after. Like the dear judges said, it is either you're connected today in Uganda or you are self-made. So to you, ladies and gentlemen, one thing I would give as in the way forward, we can speak a lot, especially in 1 minute, but we need to be self-made as students of the future. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank especially constitutional governance. This is one way how we can be self-made to make ourselves better persons in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes, we are moving here. Start with your name and the name of your university.
Judith.
We agreed earlier that we are going to stand.
Okay. Thank you very much, our panelists and today's judges. My name is Judith Mavara from Kampala International University, and I would like to add my voice to Mr. Titus on a few issues. And one of them is what I called understanding the cause to avoid the reoccurrence. Mr. Titus talked about the informal education, which I like to give a background. Informal education way back, which I advocate for, used to impact our students, learners with very many skills. To people who don't understand the informal sector, the informal education, that was practiced long time ago before the reading and writing came in, the formal education. So the informal, I call it sector, sorry. The informal education used to impact students and learners with very many skills, to include going to practically in the garden, learning carpentry, weaving, and all those things. They used to say, and there is actually a saying that it takes a society to raise a kid, and that is what the informal sector used to do. And another thing, on the reforms to be taken, two issues have not been raised, which I would like to put up. One of the issues is we entrust our students with teachers that are not well qualified. There are failures in the education sector. All the failures are the people who take up to be teachers. You fail O-level, you go and teach primary school. You fail A-level, you go and teach chemistry in the O-level education. So we have interested people, our learners, with poor teachers. Though someone raised that they've not been paid very well, but I also, maybe it should be considered that, recommended actually, that our teachers maybe, even though they are not qualified, maybe they should be taken to more practice and training. Okay. Another thing I think was about the COVID times and the education sector being in lockdown, but I would like to put up to you that it's a wide aspect that has been put down in lockdown. Education, there are very many
aspects that come with the education sector. For example, the utilities, people who provide utilities, water, umeme, all these people have been let down in the economy. We have people who supply stationery have been let down in the economy. We have people who supply uniforms, and the banks where we bank our money. All these people, all these sectors have been put down just because of the education sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll come back to that table later. Let us have somebody from this table.
A very good morning. I'm Kamgisha Andrew from Bishop Stewart University. When I addressed my mind to the topic, one was that why are we addressing the youth right now about education? Because one, they compose the huge numbers. But then why specifically the youth? That's because literally at that tender stage, whatever we train them, whatever we give them, tends to be the future of our country. And what is the status quo of education in Uganda? One is that we have the kind of education that is more theoretical, and most of the time you find you spend too much time in school, and it does not give you ample time or space time to create other avenues or to identify your talents. What happens in the long-term period? That we find we are grooming kids that literally know that the book is the only key to success. And what happens to their disappointment at the end of the graduation is that even the people who tell them that they are supposed to graduate and get jobs give themselves a retirement age at the age of 70. Now, the kid who spends all the entire time has not been given time in school like other co-curriculums in other countries where they have that after lunch session where they can now invest in music, do drama. At the end of it all, that if the education sector refuses after graduation, then the youth can invest their own time or personal gain in other avenues of what their talent can. So what does the education system trying to invest in the other countries? That when education fails, then your talent can supersede. But what happens in countries, all low developing countries like Uganda, is that the issue of talent development vis-a-vis the education sector that we receive, is that education is more promoted, that even when you're given the education that you need, it's more theoretical to the nature that when a person goes into a field, they are again trained, or what we call on-job training. So at the end of it all, it becomes a burden for one that the student does not get even experience, and jobs say that you must have experience of 3 years and above, yet I've been in school for my entire life. So what is the problem? The problem is not with the youth, but the problem is that the education is useless. Why? Because at the fundamental values of it all is that the missionaries introduced education for us to read and write. And the African countries maintained that same education for us to read and write. We didn't amend it for us to have the practical nature of it all. So the whole issue is that we should dismantle the education system. We address it putting into mind the cultural norms. We should address it putting the status quo of our mindset and the numbers of issues that African countries are facing. If we have minerals in Africa, can we train students on how to do mineral mining in their own countries? If we know that Africa has problems of insecurity or governance, can we train students with skills of political nature? I beg to submit.
Thank you. So we are giving priority to members of Group C.
Thank you very much. My name is Mahinda Mdaya Robinson. I'm coming from Mountains of the Moon University, and I'm going to pose one question to Rita Mirembe. She was telling us that in Uganda we don't have, the education system does not cater for people to get skills, but I don't know which skills you are meaning, because in 2011 the government introduced UBTEB, that is Uganda Business and Technical Examinations Board, whereby some of the technical institutions we have, they are given the skilling. We have people who are working in electricity, we have electric engineers, we have civil engineers. I bet even this house was constructed with some people having that knowledge. I don't know which skills you want. Only that you want even from P1, people should get skills, P2, people get skills. Which skills are meaning? Skills are there, only that maybe you should tell us that skills should begin from the low age as possible, but skills are there. Even at university level, you are going to be a teacher. They are now telling you what you're supposed to do. They are showing you how the curriculum can be developed. Which skills are you meaning? Then, I'm giving a submission on the future reforms of Uganda. I want to show you also what can be done so that the future of our education can be good. I'm going to talk on behalf of the foundation, when you look at Uganda's education, it has different foundations. We have foundations for government, others are for community, others are for church. So I'm saying that the government should see ways of strengthening these founding bodies. For example, the research has it that Catholic Church in Uganda has 4,998 primary schools. We have 5,186 schools from Church of Uganda plus some other religious communities. Therefore, in fact, if we are to strengthen these founding bodies, the education system of Uganda are going to have very many schools, and we can see that most of these founding bodies, they go ahead to make sure that they control how the teachers are being paid. So if we come and support such founding bodies, I see that education is going to be of high value in the coming years. I rest my case.
Okay, thank you. Let us have somebody from MOOBS.
Yeah, thank you so much. My name is Sam Nerinje, and I'm a student at MOOBS, and I'm the campus ambassador for Teach for Uganda. So what I've been following keenly on what all of them are saying, and I can summarize their submission in two things. I think we are seeing where there's education inequity, which means that whereas for us we are actually here, there are some people in the village who are actually doing other things and have not got the chance for us to engage them. So I think it all comes back to inequity, whereas other people are getting chances, others are not. And for a country to develop, we need corrective development. So I can show you like two things. I think it's about inequity, then it's also about we have a deficit of change leaders who actually understand education issues properly. So I think it all comes back to, I think the moment we roast it is where we left the education system to play at the mercy of private players. So I think the best thing would be government should actually be taking over the education sector, because we think these private players, for example, if you actually have an inspector of schools and who actually owns a private school, I don't think this person is actually going to do much work so that a public school there develops better than his side hustle, which is a private school. So I think we roasted the moment we said, let's leave this to the private players, and we think the inequality comes from there. Well, as my brother here said, well, Rita, you actually have to tell us some of the skills that maybe you want. I'm telling you, like, as a country, this house was actually built by isolated people, but for a country to develop, we need corrective development. So we think, well, as there are some people who have actually got these skills, I think there are other people who actually not got, and those are the majority. So I think for us to develop, it should be corrective, and I don't think that we should be considering isolated incidences of people who actually have got skills. For example, us who are here, but the rest of the 80% are actually outside. So we think that there's a deficit there. What I can show you is we actually there's a deficit of change leaders. For example, the target for an efficient education is actually 5% of the country's GDP. But we see that Uganda actually has 2.5% of the GDP allocated to education. So I don't think we can do much with that 2.5, and we think that we lack a deficit. We have a deficit of change leaders who actually are going to drive us forward, and we think that our education system is not going to be any better in case we don't work on these things. For example, an MP saying should have an advanced certificate of education, I think that is an injustice because this person has not understood properly, and we think that someone leading the ministry without an understanding of academia is also an injustice. So I think I beg to rest there.
Thank you. I think we have had contributions from members of Group C, at least all the universities. Let's have Chambogo University comment on this.
Yes, thank you very much. Masawi Ivan is my name from Chambogo University. I want to appreciate the panelists because you've asserted most of the issues challenging our education sector. Basically in Uganda, the challenges of education are not that because we are short of policy or that because we are short of good brains that can articulate and provide alternatives. The challenges of Uganda's education more have been due to the implementation side, beginning from the governance issue. We cannot have an education system where we debate its state in COVID but its budget was cut by 41% during a COVID time where education would be prioritized more to offer it alternatives in terms of adopting other platforms and other means uh, of delivering education. Second, you need to thank those who have existed in Uganda's education before. Like we have Doctor here. Doctor has been advocating for lecturers' payments. That is an advocate for education. That education in Uganda should be streamlined according to gaps, one of it being governance and priority. Then also the education curriculum itself should be outlined with the needs and the resources of the country. What is our vision as Uganda is where some of these needs should be outlined in the curriculum. Because we study a lot of things that we have never implemented into touch because of our education being in such a way that it has been outdated or gone traditional more. So we want to say that education reforms in Uganda are going forward should be streamlined on issues of governance, on issues of quality assurance by Ministry of Education, because we see that education is being defined in terms of buildings, but education should be determined in terms of literacy and an output. What do your graduates, what do the people who pass through the system output in the end of the day?
Okay.
I beg to submit. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we shift gears? Is there any other respond? Yes.
Thank you so much. My name is Nyanziatha Victor from Deja University. I feel that there are aspects that have not been so well addressed. Number one, the monetization of the education sector. Why do I say this? When you look at the private schools in Uganda here, recently on social media there was an admission letter of one of the top schools in Uganda today, and the fees for one term of a new entrant in senior one was 2 million. Look at the tuition we pay at campus. To maintain a child at campus, you need to at least pay 4 million a semester. Now take for example, this year some universities have had 3 semesters. That is already 12 million. How many people in Uganda can afford that? So the state of education in Uganda is that the education is unaffordable, because it's only people who come from private schools that actually are able to attain good grades and therefore attain government sponsorship at the university. So we end up seeing that there are people who cannot afford this education right from secondary school. This so expensive education are left out. So we really need to work on that so that we can raise the education system in this country. Another thing, personally, I operate on a philosophy that before I blame someone else, I first have to do my part. What is our part, ladies and gentlemen? Tomorrow, we are going to be parents, we are older brothers, and people look up to you somewhere or even here. But then you find that you're not doing your part. You've been home 8 months and you've not helped your sister who's doing homework at home. So you're not maybe, if you did maybe mathematics, you're not helping them out in mathematics, you're not helping them out in science. You're just saying schools are closed and it's okay. You play around. So we are going to be the parents of tomorrow, but what are we doing? You see, the first school is the home. That is the first school. But as parents, are we really educating our children? You see, corruption could have been prevented if the parents did the right thing. But then we did not do that. So as the parents of tomorrow, I pray that we do our job as the first educators of a child in a home, because you're the one to give them direction. Because as they mentioned, education is supposed to impact or enact behavior change. But if we do not do that at home, we do not tell the people the right thing to do, we do not tell the kids, we just look at them and let them be. You see a parent saying that kids should go back to school because they are getting pregnant from home. Is the parent doing his job or her job? So I really feel that that needs to be taken into account. As future parents, we really need to do our job as far as educating our children is concerned. Another part of educating, usually our parents, like the Honorable Judge talked about it, our parents are usually farmers, but they do not allow us to go and dig with them. Our parents, you find that your dad, some of our homes you have cars, but your dad says, you're too dangerous, I cannot allow you in my car. The dad cannot even teach you how to drive a car, and he's saying the school should teach you. And after, you find the same dad saying the schools are not doing enough to educate people with the skills that are needed. but he cannot even teach you to drive a cat home. So
Okay.
that is also lacking.
Thank you.
Lastly,
Let's pass the microphone to him. Can we clap for him? Okay.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Albert Mchungus from Leje University. I had to listen carefully to each and every speaker, and I thank them very much for taking part in this. I have a few concerns regarding the education system in Uganda. One of the other speakers talked about the incompetence of teachers being a problem to the education system of Uganda. I want to let us know that most and the highest percentage of teachers in Uganda are those students who excelled with an average mark at A level of 15 points and beyond. Therefore, we have the brightest teachers, I can say, in East Africa. It is on record that most teachers are those excellent students in schools. Therefore, we have nothing like to say about the incompetence of teachers that brings all those things that are happening in the education system. More so, about things that are haunting the education system of Uganda, I want to let us know about the political effects. When I talk about the political effects, I want us to understand that in a political way of ruling and in a political way of taking things to leadership, there is a slogan that says, if you want to lead people politically, make them poor. This is coming to our view that the country to be poor, or people to be poor, number one, deny them education. Deny them education. Once education is denied from them, we shall have a public or even a community that doesn't know anything about what the country is doing or what is happening in the country. Therefore, we can say all the other causes of what is happening in the education system of Uganda, but let's not forget about the political effects. The government is doing very much to make sure that the African child, the Ugandan child of the tomorrow has the lowest understanding when it comes to what can help him achieve the better future. Therefore, what can we do? Let's think about how we can modify the politics of Uganda. We as the youth, let's think about how we can modify this. Without modifying this, bring all the other solutions, they will be down. It all goes back to the government. And one of the other things I would say, and to my opinion, let the education system go back to the private sector. However, I know it will also be too hard because still the government is an overseer. I would have talked very much because I know I can, but since we have no time, allow me to stop from here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Kaga Irene, Deja University. Now, my main point would be mainly, I don't know which question it was exactly, but it was something about whether lockdown was actually good for the education or something like that. But then I feel, okay, it's like a two-way thing. It was kind of not okay, okay, there was lockdown, yes, but then we went home, but there was nothing really enforced. Because remember, we went home, but then people would still move around. So like technically there was no lockdown, because if you'd move around in town, you'd still see people walking around without masks. So it wasn't like really enforced. And then as as Madame Sarah said, there is a third variant. But then we are, because according to the education system, how I see it, there may likely be another lockdown soon. So how I see it, the government should all of us should try to do something about that before it reaches, and see what we shall do then about the education system when there is another lockdown. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. You have something to say? What's your name?
I'm Ndungo Pedson from the mountains of the Muni University, pursuing a Bachelor's of Economics. Now, it's said under the National Development Plan 3 that for any nation that needs to secure its future has to invest in human capital. And one of the panelists said, actually he's the one from KIU, there was a question that was it necessary for Uganda to have all that prolonged lockdown in schools? He came and said it is necessary, but he again identified a result that is alarming in the country. He talked over the pregnancies. Yes, pregnancies increased. That one shows that it was not necessary. However, he supported it. Me, I'm against that prolonged lockdown in schools. Again, the government was trying to close schools in the need to reduce the spread of COVID-19 because it had seen that the best way to reduce the spread is to reduce the gatherings. But it almost did nothing because after time, we saw government opening markets, whereby it's very difficult in market to observe the SOPs than in schools. So if it was to observe SOPs, schools would remain open and markets closed because it's more easy to observe SOPs in schools than in markets. Then there came another point of what should be done next. That is now reforms in schools. What we need to have here is a mindset change. We have always had a negative mindset about schools, rather about the education system. A doctor in his introduction, he said at the beginning of this debate, he said that we never go to school to escape poverty, but to liberate. When I go to school, let me not see it as an opportunity to secure a job to earn money, but I need to see it as an opportunity to learn the best ways on how to change the community. So here I call for each and everyone's response toward this mindset change in the communities. We should, each one of us, use the different platforms that we get access to advocate for education.
Okay.
Too much, I thank the musicians quoting Edwin K. That is a lady from Kasese, a very young girl and a student who has put forward good music advocating for the education of the girl. She has a nice song she called Decision. In this song, she says, the decision you make today, the decision you make now, will make you who you want to be tomorrow. In this, she is trying to attract the girls to make right decisions for their own future. Then another point
we are going to hold it at that. Maybe we shall come back later.
Thank you very much.
No, in the interest, the judges want to speak and we are time constrained. I hope you guys understand. Those who are out, you may want to come in now. I see empty seats. Those who are out, you may want to come in now. It's about to spark fireworks. No, you can hold that. So I'm going to hand over to the judges. They've listened in attentively. They have some comments for you. And then they will announce the winner of this particular session. Are you ready for that? Are you guys ready? Okay, so let's get back to the judges.
you've been lazy today. You are a very lazy audience. Does it tell something about your representatives? Why have you been lazy today? Clap for them and loudly. I didn't have here any jeering. It's as if, why won't you? Is it because the quality here was low, or it's you were busy on your phones, and which is the current disease that we have, diverting you all through? The Western world will screw you at home and on seas. I promise you, as young people, the West and the world out there will screw you at home and on seas. You will die at seas, trying to cross to find opportunity, running away from minerals and fertile lands and arable lands, to paved streets and cleaning toilets and stuff like that. We must pay attention. Now, this debate thing is very interesting. For me, if a debate is not premised, it's dead. And you must premise it from the theoretical point of view. What is your ideal education system? Every one of you failed. What is your ideal education system? I imagine this question was given to them earlier, isn't it? What is your ideal education system or education? No one clearly, this is what I stand for. And you did not charge the audience. This is what I stand for, and it must be. And I have reasons. And possibly, which explains the second part, because you did not prepare at that level, I could see you were not very confident. You are all like bureaucrats reading. Debaters must charge the audience. They must clap for you. So how do you charge the audience? You begin by, find your locus of control. You must find your space in the debate and then trigger them. But I think maybe it's all the same problem. Who knows? That you are forced to clap for your team? Are you serious? Maybe they didn't have the points also. But you did not premise your debates. And to premise, you must. I insist every year in, year out, to be able to premise yourself, you must be informed. You must prepare. Not so. So that leads to everything. You'll see someone, what they are saying, they are not sure. You begin to compensate because you are not confident. You don't, because you do not, the moment you do not prepare adequately, compensation is automatic. Do you know what compensate? You think now you can't keep eye contact. Then you read. A good debater to me cannot start reading. They must, they know what they have been, they have a belief. And they are properly premised. They are not everywhere. And they are ready to die for that belief, or maybe monitor it and change as it goes forward. Okay? And this is where we began. So what is your ideal education system? Why are you reasoning this education system as if it was the best we should have had? Why can't young people begin today challenging it, but in a sense that they want to redo it properly or improve what they have properly? Was it the most ideal education system, this one we have? Or they were training us to be clerks, to sign documents, procurement, what do you call them? Flight documents at airports and land ports. and clear Bazungu route. Maybe we were supposed to be clerks, speak a little bit of good English, recite a few things, and then clear their nani to Europe on train stations, etc. And then organize so-called, you know, the big documents, the big thinking by the whites. And what if it was like that? So do you believe this thing? Did our founders, Uganda is among our founders because they negotiated our deal at Lancaster House. Uganda deal was negotiated by my colleagues for our founding parents. Did they realize that they needed to, that our knowledge, traditional knowledge systems had been assaulted to the core, and that they had a duty to re-inseminate or to inseminate the education system that had been handed over to them, with now, you know, some kind of ideals that would have taken Africa to the next point. But did they have the time? So I was shocked that no one challenged this system to the core and then began thinking what could be the best. Now, I heard you talk about, so all of you, may I talk generally? Maybe Joe will pick on you. I heard you talk about formal and informal system of education. I didn't clearly get you marrying the two to produce a good result. Your school thing and that's the big challenge, by the way, at the moment. That's why parents, Joe, that's why parents this time were saying, oh, our children are at home, what do we do? Because they are not participating in the school system. At this closure would have amplified the informal education, and that we know what to do with our children informally. We would have amplified, we wouldn't even be missing them going back to school. Because now it's a children are for. That's where I agreed with the First Lady. How can you complain about your children? It is her responsibility, because she's a politician, to form society to the extent that, so she was blaming them, but it's also her duty. She's a politician beyond being a minister of education. So she should have aided society to form, to appreciate their role, to take their role seriously. But you can also say, maybe because we are dramatized, we are looking for fees. Yes, it's true, but this is why I think both have a problem. The people have a problem, their ministers have oh my. So, what happened to informal education? It got lost in between. Maybe at independence, or Joe will tell me, when did it get lost? The best school systems have, I think recently, the children got school for less, the formal school for less hours. And Finland is one, for less hours, and they do more of home. And so meaning, and for us, Africa, it made sense because we didn't have organized settlement with our indigenous. Maybe it was the only way they could take us to a certain place and indoctrinate us. But a good education system should decentralize, have some education in the community, some, you know, community libraries, community playgrounds, so that when they go, they are with the community. They are learning from the community. That's why when people ask me, and you are great, a PhD, you have a BA, I say, I wish I didn't have this thing. I wish I was a coffee processor, because my father traded in those things in coffee. I would be an advanced coffee processor, exporting and employing most of you. But because the education system kept us running away from our traditional knowledge system, this is what I wanted to say, it became very expensive for us. I didn't hear you critique this education system. It's very expensive, and that's why we are worried. Why would we pay fees? A normal education system should not be expensive, because it has informality, and kids are learning from everywhere, from every opportunity gives them a learning. We shouldn't be worried about education being expensive. This one was made expensive deliberately, and we followed. And so What is it like? And what would you wish it to be? I didn't. Now, finally, Rita, you had points towards the end, but you got lost at the beginning. Well, you had some issues, but I think it's all because all of you failed to premise. You kept, and it's common these days. I don't know. I am an educationist, and maybe we should do something, but we can't do it at the top. It must be done. Maybe Curriculum Development Center, the politicians should do something about this. How come we do not know how to premise things? First principles. A very big problem. So they will remain scattered everywhere. So you got lost, but you came out finally. But you got lost. Maybe it is to do with yourself. Because when you lack yourself, you can't debate. You must be so sure of yourself. Who told you that when you say something wrong, you are hanged? Say it, and then someone else will correct you. Say it as long as you're convinced and that you researched about it. It's your way of thinking. Aguti had points, but it's like he was addressing a church, not as a minister, maybe. That's not how they debate. You charge the audience. Huh? You were a little articulate, but according to me. But you lacked premise. Then you also talked like an ordinary man. Yes. Dorcas also. You kept compensating. You do like this. You read. That's not nice. You prepare. You premise. You read more. Reading culture. You must read. When you have a task, read. Don't only look at the opportunities. Chakura, where is Chakura? I am traveling to Kampala. We are going to speak to. Prepare. Be serious. For heaven's sake, we lack seriousness. That's why my sister keeps saying, I no longer want to debate. Because how do you debate chaos? I would say, leave them. It's okay. It's okay. Leave it. Because you can't organize chaos. It's impossible. And towards the end, all of you need to improve. And premise, then disintegrate, see what it is, then propose. Okay? Otherwise, I thank you for attempting. Maybe the next round, you will. And it seems your universities are less confident in you. How can you fail to cheer up? Cheer up. Debate. You should listen to debates if you are to debate. And Oxford Union, you listen. I follow one debater finally. I like his oratory. It's called Robert Emmet. He died at the age of 24. He was an Irish Republican, a young man who led almost the Irish who had failed for very many years to liberate themselves. The young man, he was a British but grown up in Ireland and led them to. And I loved the way he pushed the mainstream. And he would laugh at them when they asked him a question. He laughs. And he says what he knows is right. And they push back and you must prepare. If you are to be good people, even in public life. These debates won't end here. They will be in parliament. Don't start going there and it's as if there's no business. Then you start talking about men who brought their children at parliament to. I just get tired. I thank you and congratulations, and I hope you will improve after today.
start with the audience. This is not a time-wasting event. When I started, Sarah wasn't yet here, but I think my good brother Deus contributed because when he started speaking, Sarah was already here. The point is this, that this program takes somebody, takes an idea, takes a team. And for that reason, some people thought, initiated, planned, worked, and persuaded somebody and some people to give time, to give resources, and that's why we're here. And so to actually just get the privilege of knowing it's happening is a privilege, and that's part of even perhaps the challenge of our educational systems. So you, the audience, at the beginning, I said very, very deliberately that I was chairman of debating club in primary 6, Nagongora Boys. It was very, very deliberate, partly to you guys, but mainly really, really to everybody else. And that was the idea that as early as that time, primary school, yes. But why primary 6, not somebody in P7? So basically, I had something that made me the chairperson of the debating club. I then went in to give you guys hints, and seemingly, as Deo suggests, you all nearly failed. We are being very deliberately harsh, but the harshness is basically to make everybody grow. The point is this, I hinted, we needed the confidence. You must have the confidence. To have the confidence, you'll naturally have had to have the contents. And in order to have the contents and the confidence together, you will have done some research. I'm actually quite surprised that you guys had the questions prior. So I've just learned about it, that you had the questions prior. So it really should have meant that you did better, generally. You're fantastic guys, by the way. I'll come back to you guys. You're fantastic guys. But it means, therefore, that perhaps you do not really need to think and make undue references at inter-university level. You really do not necessarily need to do so. One panelist at some stage nearly attempted to convince us that they're making a point contrary to exactly what they had suggested was the opposite a few moments earlier. So really, it is about that. So what do you need? Clarity. I also said to you guys that this is, yes, a university inter-university debate. We are preparing leaders, but we are not preparing political leaders. We are preparing parents. We are preparing political leaders. We are preparing future leaders. And possibly we are preparing here specifically educationalists. And if we are preparing educationalists, then what then is the criteria? Deus and I and some of our other colleagues, whenever we are out, sometimes in the cyberbase, I normally tend to taunt that if you have done a research degree beyond first degree, you must learn to have a conversation differently. Because the issue is this, what we expected of you guys. A debating is a competition of ideas. So if it's a competition of ideas, when you qualify the point you're making, 2, you grant the alternative, and 3, as Deus quickly and very specifically suggested, you need to convince us that your ideas is the best. But in this case, because we're critiquing education, I actually expected you guys to go beyond Kenya. Somebody made an effort to go beyond Kenya. And while Deus was talking, I thought about something very quickly. Really, at this level again, you need to be giving us examples beyond the boundaries of this region. For instance, you needed to speak very specifically about China. Why has China transformed itself to where it is? Beyond education and attitude. I had the privilege of sharing a room with somebody from Malaysia. I was outside Uganda. This guy, very quickly after finishing, went back and said he was going to a job slightly different. Interestingly, I noticed that you talked about education, some of the other challenges, but some of the obvious things came as a by the by. Teenage pregnancies, well done. Thank you for talking about it. But by and large, it was almost like an accidental presentations. At the end of the day, we expected you guys to tear up the NRM manifesto and manifesto of all political parties on education. Because at this level, you are thinking It's an academic work. It does not have to be right. You just have to make an argument, So Japan, granted, this is back to the organizers. I actually think, to be fair to you guys, there's generally a shortage of time. As a panelist, we believe that I think that was a shortcoming on your hand. So before you thought that we're being very, very harshly negative, we recognize there's a shortage of time. Finland was mentioned. We Norway, for instance, young kids move out of the compound, and then you leave them to the rest of the world. They basically come as powerful citizens at the end of the day. This is the thing. But what is it? It's not all about you guys emerging, because this is not what it's about. It's about building essential leaders, so that at the end of the day, even if they did not end up becoming exemplary leaders, perhaps we hope some of you guys, looking onto your phones as these guys were delivering points, you might be the researchers. And you, the researchers, might be our next PSs for education. Next PSs, that determine how we carry out research, how we locate a multi-billionaire that everybody likes to have. Partly because he's British, but he hardly puts on suits and ties. He's very ordinary. He will continue to tell you that actually had issues. He'll tell you that left it may not necessarily be for you, and we're discussing as a panel, but maybe for you guys who've got the privilege of coming up to this stage, maybe these are the things that we need to begin to provoke as a country, that why are we this? But I repeat something which is a critique. We cannot come to a debate like this and have our universities, our guys giving the guide, and there is nobody there nodding and saying, up more, we've made the point. Food for thought for you. So this is maybe an audience lesson, but this audience lesson is that you guys are generally the future. These are basically merely your representatives. That said, I would only say this, that it's delightful being here with you guys. You guys made good submissions, but as a panel, I think that I will not possibly name names, but generally, as been suggested, you need to come with a self-belief. You need to come with a self-belief that you're going to deliver. And as I said, academia and the intellectualism, the kind of thing that we're trying to build, that knows no color. Throw yours on the table and let the other side. Same with politics. It's part of the issue why I'm quite critical, opposed to NRM. They don't like alternative views. Throw your opinion, throw your views. In this case, we wanted you to throw the evidence, as you attempted to do generally, and let the other side give the alternative. So generally, by and large, is that. But finally, you can't come and be here and give us a submission which is like a secretary giving a feedback to a bottom chair that you fear. No, you need to come here and basically persuade the audience. You really needed to persuade the audience. But beyond that, good attempts. I know that some of you tried to bring out the issues, but as I said, they were insufficiently coherent. But at the end of the day, there's a winner, but all of you guys are real winners because you came here and you're chosen by your university. Congratulations, some thought for you.
Thank you. Thank you, our judges. It's been a privilege working with you. We are certainly not from this generation, as you can notice. And so we are coming from a generation that held debate with such high esteem. We cherish debate. And so for a room like this one at the university, it would be absolutely charged with noise from everywhere. And we would all be trying to put you under order and saying, please, please be in order. And we are finding you a little like people who have come for peace talks. And you are negotiating. And we are wondering who has subdued you. I was looking at you and saying, who subdued you? What happened to you in the lockdown? I don't know. If I knew you from the lockdown, before the lockdown and now, I would probably be asking a few more questions. Who subdued you? And maybe you need to ask that question for those of you who are in the audience and those who are here. I thought that, you know, these are brilliant young men and young women, but they look subdued. What has happened to you? And I want to start from there. What has happened to you in the lockdown? And may I commend you for coming out here. But may I was very thankful at the very beginning when I came. I was really thankful to Sarah, to Civic Space. And right now I am more than thankful. I am more than thankful because I see the need. The need is deeper than I thought. I am more than thankful. I want to partner. I want to join in. I am thinking, no, I didn't see passion from you. I saw you being subdued by this little machine. It controlled you. It was not serving you. And so may I just suggest to you, may I implore you to think that this tool should serve you. So when I first saw you on the phone, I was presumptuous. I thought you were Google. You had gone on to Google to see what the relevance of Uganda's education. I was thinking, or you might think, what's the state of Uganda's education? I was hoping that's what you were doing. I was also hoping that you're thinking, should we have been closed? COVID-19, according to UNICEF reports. I thought you were looking at the UNICEF report online. That's what I thought. I also thought that maybe you are evaluating some reforms that need to happen for your country. Perhaps the reforms that need to come through for Makerere University Business School, maybe for Kampala University, International University, maybe for Mountains of the Moon. You're thinking, what reforms must I take back to my home? Because each of these universities are your home. They're your home for 4 years, they're your home for 3 years. And that's a significant part of your life because your formative years as an adult is being formed, you're being established, your values are being established, your critical thinking skills are being trained in that space, if they are. Or are you on Instagram? Or are you on Facebook looking at the latest song? What are you doing on your phone? Is your phone serving you? Are you thinking, okay, what reforms need to change at Bishop Stewart University? What reforms? And how can I be a part of it? So that's what my presumption was. And I concluded towards the end that perhaps you are on Instagram, because if you had been looking at the reforms that need to take place, at the effect of COVID on your education or your university specifically, then you should have shot up your hands. They shouldn't have said, oh, who can contribute? No. Then we wouldn't have been saying, you're not clapping hard enough. You're not encouraging people. So may I thank you, Sarah, and your team. May I really appreciate you. May I appreciate Civic Space. And may I just say thank you for the organizers. You're doing a great job. We are not there yet, but you're doing a great job. You're creating a platform. Clap for them. It's for you that they're doing it. It is for you, and it's the future of our children. My children, you're going to be leading my teenagers. You're leading my teenagers, so do I have a stake in it? Absolutely. My teenagers should not think that this is how debate is. And so, I implore you, I want to give my recommendations before I announce the winners. I want to say that for some, and I won't be specific, I'm going to say for some of you, you were absolutely confident, and that's the only reason why you are here. For some of you, you had no content, but you were so confident. Now, friends, can I say that do not equate confidence with self-esteem. Self-esteem is the way that you see yourself. Confidence is a personality issue. Does that make sense? There are people who are calm and collected and they're still confident. And there are people who are loud and they're still confident. There are people who are quiet and have a poor self-esteem. And there are people who are loud and have a very poor self-esteem. You'll hear it in their mouth or you'll hear it in their silence. Be careful that you don't mix the two. So find out what does self-confidence mean and what does self-esteem mean. The two are different. And it's so critical for each of us to say, what happened to me in the lockdown? Is there something over time that has affected my self-esteem? And so you're working from the inside out. So that when you stand here, we see not only confidence, but we see a good self-esteem. Because if you have content, so I noticed that some people here had content, but they had no confidence. They had content and confidence, they had no self-esteem. So they were afraid of saying what they needed to say. And if I am afraid as a debater to say what I need to say, I will not persuade you. Debating is part of it is persuading you. It is saying, I disagree, I agree, but did you flip the coin? Do you know about this statistic? So it is persuasion towards my end of my point of view. And so I didn't hear that persuasion. I had people speak like they were in the boardroom or like peace talks, like I was saying. Peace talks don't excite people, let me tell you. They create tension and it can be boring. But you know, if you're a debating caliber, even in the peace talks, you'll stir up the crowd. And so we are here to negotiate, but to negotiate in a persuasive way. And so, what are your persuasive skills? Can you ask your neighbor, are you persuasive enough? Are you developing the skill to debate, to persuade me, to win me over, to mobilize people against a cause or for a cause, depending on what you've been called to? I also thought that some people had a very good, calm composure when they were responding questions. But you know, we need a fire. We need some passion. Does that make sense? Have you seen some singers when they come on the stage and how the crowd gets charged up? That's what we need. But we don't just want a charged up crowd without content. We need statistics. We need to sense that you have done your research. And then dress formally. Debates are not beaches. Debating rooms are not beaches. Dress formally. You need to Google how to sit when you're on a panel. You don't slouch. I saw some people in the audience doing this like they were in a bar. No. You sit up. You put your back up. You support your back. That's why your chair is supported. You speak from the bosom, from right here, okay? Not from the mouth. So there is an etiquette around debate that you need. Friends, write that down. An etiquette around debate. What do you need? What do you need to know? There is a dress code around debate. And you might be thinking, but this lady is wearing traditional. Even a suit is traditional. It's just different. It's a different tradition. But this is a formal wear. Is this a formal wear? If you're not thinking it's a formal wear, there is something, you have been colonized.
a little bit colonized. But when the Mufumbira woman in Kisoro wears like this, she feels like she's very formal that day. And it's true. A gomesi is a formal. There is a formality. And I want to go back to my roots. I'm telling my children, you don't need straight hair. You don't need long hair like the Wazungus. You can have long hair as an African if you're taking care of it. And there are more and more young people developing products that are going to do that for us. We haven't had that in the past. So it was a cut and paste. I wasn't like this at the university, but I'm encouraging more and more people. We need to get back to our authentic roots so that when people look at your hair, they don't feel like, Talina Sente, she doesn't have money. No. No. Hair is very political, friends. Hair is political. How you do your hair is political. And so you need to start thinking, okay, can I be confident with my natural hair? If I can't be confident, I haven't got the right product. I haven't got the right knowledge around African hair. Can I educate myself? I know more about the prairies and the Canadian prairies than I know about my hair type. Does that make sense? So friends, it's presentation. I'm just talking about your conduct. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is just eye contact. Can people see you? I feel like I'm communicating with one of the ladies here because she's looking at me and I'm looking at her. She's not looking at her phone. And so you can look at your phone for a point, but you shouldn't look at your phone for too long that you look distracted and you're not looking interested. So did you really encourage these young people? I'm not sure you did. And so I just wanted to say it's important to have content. I thought that she was very confident. Doris? Is that your name? Yes, Doris. Doris was very confident. I appreciate that. I also thought that Mr. Ogutu had an understanding of where the world is going in terms of education. He tried to paint a picture. He was talking about critical skills, being practical. He was talking about creativity. He was talking about innovation. And that's where we're going. You have to keep reinventing yourself. Things are changing at a very fast rate. And I thought that he tried to paint the picture for that. May I commend you for that? May I also commend Augustine. Do I pronounce your name right? Augustine? Yes, Augustine. I thought that Augustine is a man on the ground. I thought he knew the state of the issues that are rising. He's aware of the issues, and he brought them out very clearly. He talked about the resources that we need. He also talked about the pregnancies that we have experienced. He talked about the teachers. He talked about the state of private schools. He talked about people not having access, for example, to the internet. And so I thought he had clarity, what class am I? If you have visited some of your nieces or your cousins and you ask what class are you, they don't know what to answer. They just know what class they were in 2 years ago, okay? And so he was aware. And so let's just clap for each one of them. I thought that Rita had content, and it came out more towards the end. You know, she began to give us statistics towards the end, statistics, and even going beyond our borders. Rita, may I commend you for that? Yeah. But they were generally smart. They are into what they're thinking, but may I commend you, friends, for listening to them. I needed you to engage a little more. So these are my recommendations. Please read. And one of the judges said, reading culture. You can't have a vocabulary when you have not been reading. When you read 2 books, you learn a few more words. And now because you're reading WhatsApp, you think you're reading. You're not reading, friends. If you're reading Facebook, you're not reading, friends. You're reading all sorts of jargon and all sorts of things. You're not reading. So read a book a month. That's the first recommendation. Record yourself on the phone and hear your voice, because your voice can be really boring if you're the same monotonous tone. When they were both speaking, all of you were like this. I was watching, because they're throwing their voice high and low. They know when to go higher and when to go low. So it's important that you record your voice on your phone and listen. Give a speech of 4 minutes, a 4-minute speech, a 5-minute speech. Understand how much time is 5 minutes. I don't know if you practice that. How much time is 5 minutes? You looked like you were shocked when they told you, it's time up. You were shocked, meaning that you don't understand what 5 minutes looks like. But if you practice on your phone, you will actually know. The other thing is sign up for a public speaking class. When at home, somewhere in Ntungamu or Gulu or Kitugum, they are saying, where is the MC? Put up your hand and say, I want to be the MC. I have a 10-year-old daughter who I asked to be an MC at my husband's 50th anniversary last year. And everybody was 50th birthday. And everybody was like, honestly, a 10-year-old? I said, when will I train her? I called along her uncle, and they shared, so that we would have the balance. But she did a good job. And this is a very introverted girl. You don't have to be a great public speaker because you are a sanguine and your personality is one that lights up the room. No. You can be a very quiet person, but when you stand to speak, everybody listens. So sign up. Sign up. Tell your neighbor. Sign up for a public speaking class. There's something called Toastmasters. There's Rotary. There's many opportunities for you. Rotaract. There's many opportunities for you to learn. There are fellowships all over. There's a Catholic fellowship. There's a Protestant fellowship. There are Islamic groups at your university. Take leadership there and learn to speak in public. Connect with your audience. Connect. Listen. Listen to great speeches of the world. Martin Luther King. Memorize his speech. Memorize Churchill's speech. There are many speeches in this country that are good. Memorize. I don't know if you heard Honorable Mayombo, the late. He was a great orator. May I say that the former president, Milton Obote, was a great orator. He was a great orator. As a child, I still hear some things. And so it's important that you just pull out some of those speeches on YouTube, okay? And just keep listening to them, repeating them. Tell your siblings to be your audience. Tell your mom and dad to be your audience. Just start practicing. You'll get better at it. But read, because you cannot debate without content. There's so much content right now on the internet about education. It is mind-blowing because the whole world is thinking about education right now. So we missed an opportunity. I wish we could do this again. But allow me to stop. I recognize that you're hungry. Panelists, may we clap for these young people. Clap for them. Thank you for offering yourself. Most of life, I think 90% of life is showing up. You showed up. The others are not known. They're in the audience, hiding behind there. So for MOOBs, I thought if a member of MOOBs is standing, you should be clapping louder. There's something about you guys. I need to shake you up a bit. If Mountains of the Moon, how many people are here from Mountains of the Moon? Let me see them. I need to hear deep voices like as if you were 20 people. You're 3. I need to hear that. And Bishop Stewart, how many people are here? You're just 2. We need to hear you. How many? 3. We need to hear you as if we are hearing Bobby Wine supporters. Does that make sense? Have you seen how when people are going to, we need to hear that you are actually writing notes. We need to see you writing notes and passing them on. So the debate is how relevant, and before they answer the question, you have written the answers for the debaters. You're giving them examples. You're busy writing and passing them on. That is what a competition is about, friends. Do you understand what I'm saying? So who are you supporting? Are you just here to eat and say we went to Kampala and we're in a hotel and we ate? No, friends. There are brains that have thought about you, have thought about your transport, have thought about so many details for you and I to be here, okay? So you should have been supporting them. Google, divide the questions. How many are from the Islamic University? So you should have been writing. Okay, friends? We should have been passing on some notes going to the front, isn't it? That's what I remember debate to be. Even in parliament, you will see somebody tapping with a small piece of paper, isn't it? There is always somebody. You can miss out something even when you knew it, and you may need somebody to prompt you. So be kind. Be kind. Stop thinking of yourself. Improve the quality of the conversation and the debate by engaging not just your presence and your body, but your mind and your emotional intelligence. So, for the inter-university interface debate competition today, on the foundation of every state in the education of its youth, what's the state of Uganda's education? We will start, do we start from the bottom? What do you want? Do you want the best news first? Okay. The fourth university was Bishop Stewart University, represented by Miss Atumanya Doris. Let's give her a hand clap. Thank you, Doris, for all your hard work. We really appreciate it. I know it's going to get better after this. The third was Mountains of the Moon panelist, Mr. Waiswa Augustine. Thank you very much for understanding the state of our nation. The second runner-up was Makerere University Business School panelist, Miss Rita Mirembe. A huge hand clap to her. And our obvious winner is from Kampala International University panelist, Mr. Ogutu Titus. Well done, well done. You deserve to stand up. Well done. A huge clap. I feel like I need to inject in you some drug, like a drug to increase your passion. But I won't be doing that. You will do that with the content that you're going to expose yourself to in the next few weeks as you rest at home. Thank you so much, Sarah and team. It's been a privilege to be here. Thank you, my fellow judges. It's been a privilege to get to know you and to hear your thoughts. Absolutely intelligent men. Now, in my time, even as I was speaking, you would see a student running to get their number. That's what we did. Running to get their number. We run after. After Sarah gets down to her seat, you're taking her number. You're recording. I didn't see you guys recording. In my time, we had no recorders. Mass communication students had some, and those who were wealthy enough could come and put them here. I'm not seeing you writing. And I am afraid of that, friends. When these young people were talking, I was writing what they're saying. I don't know everything. So there's a curiosity. You need to be a little more curious, a little more questioning, a little more enthusiastic about learning and education. I could go on and on, but you're hungry again. Thank you for the privilege.
Thank you very much, Olga. Thank you very much, Joseph. Thank you very much, Deus, for taking on your time and being part of this conversation, being part of this debate, and giving us the much needed inspiration that is critical for the growth and, of course, the journey that we have with the team we engaging in the Inter-University Debate Championships. I just pray and hope that you could always spare some time and be part of our future conversations with these university students so we can at least build a core for our nation. Thank you very much, our dear panelists from the different universities. you're all winners. Thank you very much. Someone was whispering to me that, yes, they already said that. But no, for us, it is not about what you take here as you the best or something. This, like I always tell you, this is a journey that we have with each one of you. It is a mentorship journey. It's a leadership journey that we have. Yeah, it's a long process. Yeah, it's not about how much you've spoken and won here, but how much are you developing generally, and you'll be able to use those skills for your betterment in the next course of your life. So I just thank you for taking off your time and being here, but also importantly, our audience for being really, really, really energetic. I didn't see the energy, of course, but anyway, you've tried to be on. I just pray that in the afternoon we have much more energy. I don't know, maybe it's because of the panelists that were on, so we just have to wait for our second group and see what they have to offer. But I thank you very much for being on, for being attentive, and for following closely. These discussions are on our YouTube channel, Civic Space TV. Please share the link so that we have as many people in your universities following. As also importantly that you constantly subscribe, ask them to subscribe, be part of these conversations. We're also on Facebook Live, but also on Twitter on inter-university debates. So be part of these conversations. Share your thoughts out there. We need to capture them. We need to know what you're saying. You also need to contribute to the debate that is out there. You know, while you're here, you should give Olga the reason to why you're holding your phone. That you have another discussion you're having online, you know, that is happening on the hashtag. Yeah, but if it's not that, then please let's have that in the next conversations that are happening. Lunch is almost served, and I think we'll have to go for that. But importantly, I need maybe possibly would have to ask Sarah to give us our closure for now. If not, then let's break off. But yeah, she always wants to share a word or two, which is important. Thank you, Sarah. And from here, you will have to close us and let us for lunch.
Why do you like putting me on the spot? Well, I wish to thank our distinguished panelists, well good, our distinguished judges, and our distinguished participants, all in your personal capacities. Well done. Lockdown has had an effect on this program. We've walked a long journey with Dr. Kamunyu. He knows the levels we had reached. And indeed, that's why this debate was very important. And if any of you thinks lockdown has not had an effect, go back and watch your debates. It has had an effect of everybody. You can't close schools for 2 years and think there is no impact. There is an impact. There is a reason why everybody is concerned about the long closure of schools in Uganda. People can argue that it has worked. Well, all our neighbors have had their schools open. I'm sure you've not had a crisis of school children dying of COVID in any of our neighboring countries. And it has been scientifically proven that COVID had less impact on younger people than older people. So, but that's something we cannot change, both of us in this room, because we are not in that decision-making space. But what is important now is how do you move forward? I like the hard-hitting comments of the judges. They don't mean bad. They want to see an improvement. You are the leaders of a generation. You are the leaders of 78% Ugandans. Forget about the 22. What can you do if you were today placed in charge? What decisions would you make? What would inform those decisions? Start taking yourselves more seriously. I look forward to the debate in the afternoon on enjoyment of rights and freedoms. I wish to invite our panelists to stay with us. We have another set of judges joining us, but please stay with us if you don't have any pressing issues to do. I wish you a good lunch. I hope to see more energy in the room in the afternoon. Asante sana. Let's clap ourselves.